Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you once again to this edition of the USI Strategic Dialogues. And I have with me once again Major General Shashi Asthana, who is the Director of Courses at the USI and has been holding this position for the last 7 years and needs no introduction. As I mentioned earlier, he is a very well known and renowned strategic analyst and has had his works published both on the international and national forum and has spoken on multiple platforms, both in India and abroad. And he is very highly respected for his views. Today, I am going to be discussing an issue regarding the Saudi Pakistan Mutual Defense Agreement, which was signed on 17th September by the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the presence of General Asim Munir, the Pakistan Army Chief. And for Pakistan, these developments mean that they are now no longer being isolated on the world stage and are back on center stage. Now, to quote the joint statement, this agreement, which reflects the shared commitment of both nations to enhance their security and to achieve security and peace in the region and world, aims to develop aspects of defense cooperation between the two countries and strengthen the joint deterrence against any aggression. So, one of the key words in this is strengthening joint deterrence. Now, the timing is also very critical, as you've seen what is happening in the region, the Middle East region particularly. The wars or the conflicts are still persisting, and there was a strike on Doha, the capital of Qatar, just before this agreement was signed. But the agreement was dismissed as having been, not due to Doha, though everybody felt it was precipitated by Doha, and they've said that it took years of discussion. And senior Saudi officials said it was not a response to any specific countries or specific events, but an institutionalization of long-standing and deep cooperation. Now, to discuss the background of the Pakistan-Saudi defense relations and the implications of this treaty, as I said, we could have no one better than General Asthana. So, may I have your views on the background of the Saudi defense relations, Saudi-Pakistan defense relations, and the implications of this treaty at this juncture?
Thank you, Jagadveer. It's a pleasure talking to you and your. Firstly, as far as this pact is concerned, this is mutual defense agreement of 2025 is concerned. It has a long background. In 1967, there was a defense partnership signed between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. With that, we saw almost about 15,000 troops of Pakistan being deployed in Saudi Arabia. There was also, this agreement was also renewed in somewhere around 1982. And therefore, this is not totally a new agreement.
In 82, it was called a bilateral security cooperation.
Yeah, that's right. Now, what has happened is that Saudi Arabia was threatened at that time also because of the Shia-Sunni divide. They used to contemplate threats from Iran at that point. And Sunni axis was working. And when Pakistan, the nuclear, it was also termed as Islamic bomb, if you recall.
It was termed as Islamic bomb, sir, and there's also a lot in the papers and all that Saudi has contributed finances towards that.
Exactly. So that time Saudis had contributed money because Pakistan was short of funds as far as the expenditure of conducting this kind of test is concerned. But if we come to 2025, two things stand out. One is there was some kind of defense agreement existing earlier. There was also a need for Saudi Arabia to be expecting some kind of nuclear cover. They went into defense agreements with US. The simple reason so that in case they are threatened by Iran or Houthis or Iran's proxies or by Israel, in that case they are defended by America. Now, the whole thing got triggered because of Israelis' reckless attack on Doha. This attack brought two signals. For as well as for some of the other Arab. One is Israel cannot be controlled by US because when it comes to Israelis' recklessness, any US president will seem to have a control on it. Then the AIPAC in the US Congress is too strong for any president to be overruled. And therefore, whether it is President Joe Biden or President Trump, nobody will be able to control Israel in case it decides to attack. And subsequently, they will be duty bound to protect it in case the Arab world react. Have done in past. So these realities, when they came in front of the Arab world, also the fact that if it is partnership Doha US or Saudi Arabia, when compared to Israel US, this partnership is certainly at a much lower priority than the partnership between Israel and US. So they got to know where they stand as far as the US priorities are. And they also got to know as to how much is the control of US on Israel, and therefore how much is the reliability as the net security provider of United States. Now with this kind of situation, they wanted to give a signal to Israel. How can you give a signal to Israel without disturbing your relationship with others? They found that perhaps this 2025 agreement is a right kind of agreement which can give these. Now, the text of the agreement has not been made. What we are getting to know, the certain snippets of the text is actually coming out from various statements of various leaders. And these statements are also at risk. As far as Pakistan is concerned, it is trying to highlight that that mutual security clause or collective security clause, which is similar to Article 5, which incidentally says that attack on one.
Yes, it says any aggression against either country shall be considered an aggression against
both. Now, obviously,
wordings are similar to Article 5 of.
Now, basically, if you see, Saudis have let this definition or let this, press releases of Pakistan go through. The simple reason, because they have to give something to Pakistan to be able to indirectly convey to Israel that we still have a nuclear shield of Pakistan in some manner or other. This was a message which was required to be conveyed, and this was also a message towards Iran and Houthis, because they do fear a fair amount of backlash against Houthis or from Houthis, for the simple reason because they have been in past trying to get closer to Israel. The kind of atrocities which have been committed by Israelis in Gaza post October 7th have put them in a very awkward situation, in a manner that the Muslim brethren is challenging them that you have done nothing. Actually, Arab world has done nothing very much except some statements. And if they try to do something, then you have a problem with Israel and US. And Israel and US both under Trump are even much closer than what they were when it was the case of Netanyahu versus Joe Biden versus Netanyahu. So, considering these things, when we look at the agreement and when we look at the press releases, few things are very clear. The nuclear aspect, whether it has been endorsed in the agreement, is not clear.
No, that's not clear in the agreement. But just talking of this, two issues have come up. That Bob Woodward, in his book released in 2024 on war, talks of a meeting of a senator, US senator, with the Saudi prince, in which he said that we don't need a nuclear weapon, we can buy one from Pakistan. And the other is the defense minister of Pakistan, after the signing of the agreement, implied that this agreement also extends to the nuclear dimension. So he made it very clear.
I agree with you. This is Pakistani statement which you have to I think, take it with a pinch of salt.
I know that, but it's not a statement. It's a statement by the defense minister.
Yeah, statement by the defense minister. Understand it. But you see the practicality. Do you think, by any stretch of imagination, Pakistan will use a nuclear weapon on Israel and America will keep quiet?
So, coming to that,
the question is, the chances of Pakistan using a nuclear weapon on Israel, is there a possibility? Practically, it's too far-fetched.
In fact, I was coming to another question. Now you preempted me.
Yeah.
Practically, will America permit Pakistan to use US weapons which have been given to Pakistan against Israel?
Yes.
That also seems a little far-fetched to me.
So that is why the statement and the practicality on ground, they both have to be analyzed together. And then we have to draw conclusions as to what it could be. Now, there is no doubt that this agreement is not very convenient to you because, like it or not, Pakistan will certainly get financial funding from
So
Saudi Arabia.
that is a question,
Yeah.
that we can talk about later, sir.
Okay.
So right now, the next question is that, as per you, this agreement is aimed at Israel.
Yeah.
But apart from Israel, the other, adversaries facing Saudi Arabia are the Houthis, who you've talked about, and Iran. Now, Pakistan shares a border with Iran. In case there's a conflict between Saudi and Iran, which you mentioned earlier, the Sunni Shia issues, what role will Pakistan play there? Against Houthis, Pakistan is clear. Against Israel, will the US permit them to play a role? Will the US permit them to use their weapons? I mean, these are all challenging questions, and they are, intricacies. So you have an agreement which you talk is more of symbolic and less in substance. So how do these issues come about? And the other issue I want to ask you is that, as far as Pakistan is concerned, it is India centric. Now, when it looks towards India all the time, suddenly to divert attention to its west, how does that work out? And further, will you see Saudi Arabia, which has very good relations with India, stepping in to help Pakistan against India?
Okay, let me go one and take all the threats of Saudi Arabia and what role Pakistan will play. First, as far as Houthis are concerned, Houthis are a challenge for Saudi Arabia. There is no doubt. Pakistan military did act against Houthis at some point of time, and therefore, should there be a confrontation between Houthis and Saudi Arabia, Pakistan military can certainly help Saudi Arabia. They have sent their troops earlier. Some of their generals are also employed in Saudi Arabia, and
General Raheel Sharif
was employed. So, like that, such kind of help will certainly be there. As far as Iran is concerned, yes, Pakistan is in some position to put some pressure on Iran because of the border, because of the common border. But under the existing circumstances and under the existing geopolitical scenario of Middle East, or what we call as West Asia, there is hardly any chances of confrontation between Iran and Saudi Arabia, because both of them are suffering a similar problem, and everybody is suffering one common problem, which is Israel as of today. Things can change later. That's a separate issue. I mean, Iran and Saudi Arabia can still be on Shia-Sunni divide at some point of time, but as of now, they are. In fact, they were trying to reconcile, if you recall, a little earlier, especially Chinese wanted them to reconcile, and Chinese did make some moves to that effect. Now, coming on to the Israeli issue. Now, as far as Israelis are concerned, I do not visualize that they will utilize nuclear weapon on Saudi Arabia or vice versa, or Pakistan will use nuclear weapon on Israel. It's not practical. US will certainly not allow them. And whether Pakistan nuclear umbrella is there or not, if US is supporting Israel, the nuclear umbrella of Pakistan and Article 5 or so-called this collective security clause, between whatever clause they have put, that can't save them.
That's exactly what I was asking.
That will not be able to save them at all. Now, that I think Saudi Arabia is also very clear. The only thing was that this is a strategic messaging to two people. One is Israel, that you can't get away with doing whatever reckless action you are doing everywhere. And two, to America, that if you are trying to be a security provider to us, please control Israel. If you don't control Israel, we will have to look for some kind of wonky options which we are now looking for. So these are the two messages. Now come to let's look at Saudi Arabia helping Pakistan, and what are Pakistan's threats. Now, I don't think there is any threat to Pakistan from Iran, except certain exchanges which happen on the border, because of the Baluchis border is common. And the Baluchis terrorist problem is both sides. I mean, they can keep shifting both sides. That's one. If you look at the problems with Afghanistan, that's the second problem. But that doesn't demand the issue of nuclear weapons. Afghanistan will continue to support TTP and Taliban, because they are both are one actually. Taliban is Taliban.
Absolutely.
So they are going to keep supporting them. And TTP is going to keep having Pakistan. And nuclear weapon has got no meaning there. As far as Saudi's fund flow is concerned, yes, that Pakistan will get.
fund flow and support on the international
and
stage.
support on international stage. But international stage, Saudi Arabia doesn't have that problem.
But they don't have. But so far they've not been supporting them to that.
No,
degree.
I appreciate that. But the international support, when it comes to international support, Pakistan banks on a support of P5 because a P5 member support in international forum is more important, whether it is China or US. So Pakistan will look at, when it comes to diplomatic support, then US and China support is important, and it will certainly not do anything to annoy US or China to that extent, because any one of them falling apart in UNSC can create problems for Pakistan, because there are a whole lot of guys to be nominated as international terrorists, a whole lot of organizations, and the moment one of them is not with them, then it can become very easy for India to pursue those cases very easily. So that's another challenge as far as Pakistan is concerned. The third thing is the threat from India, which Pakistan keeps talking about. Let's be very clear. India has got no territorial intentions or aspirations in Pakistan.
Correct.
We are least interested neither in their territory nor in their people as far as but certainly India is going to punish Pakistan for terror acts. That we have made it absolutely clear, and we have also put it as a part of our doctrine. In that case, any aggression or any, let's say hypothetically, there is a terrorist act tomorrow, and we decide to take on the terrorist target. If you recall our so far aggressive actions which have taken place right from Puri, Balakot until today, our actions were purely against terrorist targets. Now, there this clause doesn't appear much, because we never said that we are threatening Pakistan as a state. We never launched an operation against Pakistan military to start with, till they responded militarily. And then, of course, we were open to taking on all the military targets in operational Sindhu. So, as far as we are concerned, Saudi Arabia knows this sensitivity. And Saudi Arabia, even after signing this, has also given statements to that effect, condemning terrorism and things like that. So, and Saudi Arabia has also assured that, okay, they will take care of the sensitivities of India. So, I visualize that future actions by India against terror targets will be a counter-terror action. It can be a kinetic action in Pakistan soil, for sure, because if a Pakistan-linked terror attack happens, then we will respond. But this will not qualify for an aggression on Pakistan as far as India is, and therefore does not give any room for Saudi Arabia to be helping them. The second issue is, what is Saudi Arabia's capability? Even if, let's say, hypothetically, they want to help Pakistan against India, the only thing is, okay, if they don't send us oil, they are third largest oil exporters to us. If they don't send it, we've got other options. If they, shall I say, it is hardly any military which can actually challenge India. So basically, so basically, other than the finances,
it will use Saudi money to bolster its own defense capability.
Exactly.
Pakistan will do that.
Exactly.
So they'll get finances from there. And now whether they buy Chinese equipment or whether they buy US equipment is now the question is wide open. And so now that we've talked of all these countries, what is your opinion of China? What role does China have in this? Because Pakistan is a trusted friend of China right since 1963. They've been very, very close. So now how does China enter into this matrix? Is this a method of means of China entering the West Asia? Or is it, how do you see it?
See, Chinese play a much bigger game. I don't think if Pakistan and Saudi Arabia decide to give a message to Israel and America, I don't think China will be very unhappy about it.
No, they won't be unhappy. So do you think Pakistan would have...
I think Chinese reading of this particular agreement is that these two guys are trying to give a message to Israel and America, so be it.
So that is
how I don't think China would be very much disturbed with.
So basically you see this agreement as more of, symbolism and less of any, substance.
Yeah. And it is an extension of the earlier ones. Earlier also agreements existed. The only thing was that to perhaps amuse Pakistan, they have added this clause that mutual deterrence and collective security clause, in whichever wordings they have put in, because we are yet to read the fine prints. These are all statements. And let me tell you, I do not trust the statements of the Pakistani defense minister also. They have given statements to pursue their narratives in past. Those statements can well be there. Unless I read the fine print of the agreement, what does it say about the nuclear, I say, cover?
So it doesn't specify it at all.
So that is
what
why
has come out in the open,
exactly.
It just says
because there is
deterrent. So
because there is a catch
is,
there. If they put this nuclear clause there, I mean, defense minister can keep speaking anything. If they put their nuclear clause there, then issue of NPT comes in. Then all the powers can well say that, okay, here is a live case of proliferation, because proliferation can be direct or indirect. So it's a case of indirect proliferation. You are adding somebody else to the nuclear club in case that clause is there. So what defense minister has said does not sync with the kind of arrangements which are happening, and with the situation which it has, and the threat against which they are trying to pose this, that is Israel. Because Israel US relationship is relationship of a different level, which perhaps the Saudi Arabia relationship is not of that level, and that's perhaps has led to this.
so in this current geopolitical flux that we're in, with these persistent conflicts, be it Russia, Ukraine, be it Israel with Gaza, Israel in Gaza with Hamas, Israel with Houthis. You've seen what's happened earlier in Syria. You saw the Iran standoff, and now you have this sort of agreement. So and you've seen the problems in India's neighborhood, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and recently in Nepal. So how do you see an agreement like this affecting India's security matrix? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Let me put the bigger picture in. The bigger picture is that USA somehow feel that China is a challenge.
Oh, but USA feel China is a challenge. They were propping up India versus China.
I'm coming to that.
And today,
I'm coming to that.
Today, they after the UN General Assembly meeting, President Trump is again hosted Prime Minister Sharif.
That is exactly what
and Germany.
I'm just indicating that. See what has happened is that US feels China is a challenge today, and India could be a challenge tomorrow. And therefore, to checkmate, if it can get into South Asia region in a manner and can find allies in a manner that it has influence in these areas, it can trouble both China as well as. Now you see the effort which they are making in Pakistan along with them, whether it is in terms of, shall I say, investments, or it is in terms of, I don't know how much rare earth they have.
I talked of rare earth in Balochistan.
But the question is, the intention is very clear that they want to amuse Pakistan, and they want to get Pakistan back to what they originally planned when the India partition took place. Originally, they carved out Pakistan for a simple reason that they have to checkmate USSR. China was nowhere in the horizon. India was nowhere in the horizon. And for that, they included them in C2 and C. So that was the axis at that. Now that axis, the deep state of America still feels that axis is a workable axis. If Pakistan is with you, and if Asif Munir's, I would say, property is in USA, and all their generals' properties are in USA, and their interests are in USA, then it is a possibility. If that is so, then it can irk China, number one. It can irk India. And also, if you could do regime changes around India, that is in the neighborhood, like Nepal is neighborhood of India and China. Similarly, Bangladesh, again, is important from the point of view of Indo-Pacific. Similarly, other regions. So, if Bangladesh regime change is possible, so deep state can always work that out, that, okay, if you can make some kind of headway there, then you are actually disturbing the apple cart of both. So, South Asia has also become an arena of big power contestation. And in this big power contestation, USA is trying to place these games. What has happened is that post-Op Sindhu, even China also was not very vocal about it. What has happened is, post-Op Sindhu, when India hammered the military instrument of Pakistan, that time what was seen was that their F-16s and American technology as well as Chinese technology would have been seen in poor light unless the narrative is changed to say that no, Pakistan did fairly well. And therefore, this kind of narrative suited actually America as well as China. Now what has happened is that with that kind of narrative, Pakistan has got some kind of rally. And coupled with that, you have to give some credit to Pakistani diplomacy in some manner or the other, that they also played on to the ego of President Trump. And they tried to actually get Trump on their side, who was absolutely anti them in his first term.
And they've been successful.
So therefore, there is some kind of strategic relevance which has been created. Now, the strategic relevance for the piece of ground where Pakistan is also important for China because of the direct access to Gulf.
Because they've invested heavily in
They've invested one. And secondly, Gwadar port is on the mouth of Gulf.
Correct.
So that's a very strategic location, strategic base for China. So China will not like to, shall I say, break ties with Pakistan, or will not like to press Pakistan beyond. And Pakistan is taking an initiative now. You have to also grant another thing. Pakistan leave the first tenure of President Trump and Biden aside. Last 10 years, when America was reasonably close to India. Before that, they have managed China and America both in their.
They have.
So that much, that you have to grant them. Because these two big powers, two P5 members, they have been able to keep both of them amused to a great extent. So now they have actually found some kind of relevance because of the geopolitical equation, and few things which happened. Israeli recklessness is one that has also actually gained relevance, because they are the only Islamic country with a nuclear bomb, and therefore, and everybody actually given a choice. Already Arabia also wants it. Turkey also wants. So they create a relevance for Turkey in some manner or the other. And they are already relevant for China, and they have now created a relevance for USA. So with this newfound relevance of Pakistan, our efforts of, if you recall, all our diplomats used to say, we have isolated Pakistan.
Absolutely.
Now, that has taken a hit. So Pakistan today is not isolated. Pakistan has got enough partners today, and therefore, in our strategic equation to deal with Pakistan, we will have to deal with this equation as well, that they have partners. So isolation part is difficult. Secondly, the fund flow of Pakistan is unlikely to stop, because of, not that everybody wants to, all these so-called partners want to see Pakistan prosperous. No, that's not the case. But they certainly want Pakistan to be afloat just above the sinking level. So they don't sink, and their military does what they want them to, what these countries want them. So that is the situation, and that is the equation which Pakistan has with others. Will it make Pakistan a big economic power? Answer is no. Will it develop Pakistan? Answer is no. Will we be able to sink Pakistan? The answer is again no. But certainly India still continues to have a deterrence, and if we play our cards well, I think we should be able to seek our security interests even in this quagmire of geopolitical turbulence.
Thank you very, very much, sir, for sharing your views as always with us, sir. They're extremely concise and extremely focused, and you got out so many relevant points and issues which we need to discuss. Though the robustness of the security pact remains to be seen, and we're not very clear whether it extends beyond symbolism, but a very major issue you got out is the relevance of Pakistan now on the world stage. And for India, there are strategic implications which are concerning, and these, I'm sure, are people who are in charge of the policy will look at and be examining more deeply. And what you've talked about is very true, that for Saudi Arabia, mainly what Pakistan is looking for and what they will get is financial backing and more of political backing on international forums. But will such issues, will such backing embolden Pakistan in the long run against India is something that needs to be seen. You talked of Seato and Cento. We are 60 years after the 65 war. And at that time, those two pacts did embolden Pakistan to take certain action against India. Thank you once again, sir, very, very much for sharing your views with us. And thank you, everybody. And Jay.
Thank you, Jagatveer. Thank you for calling me, and thank you. Pleasure speaking to you and your viewers.
Thank you, sir.